that you're doing on purpose. Sing like a singing on key. Talk to the girl that intimidates you. Pretend that you're brilliant and charming. I said pretend that you're brilliant and charming. Hey!
Everybody, welcome in later with Jason Suel. So glad that you are tuned in. Great show lined up for you, man. That band really gets you jazzed up.
Rockin'.
Fired up, ready for the show. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Fall is here, Bo Counts. I know you weren't here to kick off the season. Season 11.
I know.
Strong.
There was a bug going around.
Gross.
You know, whatever. We get sick. People get sick.
We do.
We heal. And we change.
And you're back.
And we're back. And fall, I mean, it's my favorite time of.
Is it? Because it's a lot busier around here in Northwest Arkansas.
But remember when it was 110 degrees?
Gosh, you're so right.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yes. And none of that. None of that right now.
None of that right now. Yeah. At least right now we're experiencing a little bit of that. But how about you know, and the bar too? Because I know this is your big build-up. Fall's happening. Also, you're looking forward to your big holiday
Nightmare
season.
on Block Street's coming up. Our Christmas is coming up. And it's just like local businesses in Fayetteville, like fall and winter is when just it thrives. Like this is where we make our money. It's where local economy grows. And, you know, people walk by because you can walk. It's not 100 degrees. Your shoes aren't melting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just the town is full of a very special, like, blooming life that I love.
Yeah, so, it feels great. I know we're coming off, too, of like this summer blockbuster season, kind of just ended. We wrapped it all up, and you're a big movie guy.
Big movie guy.
What were the big, like, moments for you from this summer? I mean, I know Barbenheimer was a whole cultural moment.
Yeah, and they're both great movies. I didn't buy into the whole meme hype. It was fun. Honestly, really surprised by Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Thought that was a whole lot of fun.
I loved that one.
Been seeing, like, The Meg 2 somehow came out of nowhere and was a lot of fun. It's just been... Honestly, it's been a kind of a fun year for movies.
The band all just turned and looked at each other like, is he serious talking about the Meg 2 right now?
Have you seen it? It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's Jason Statham, one last
right.
Meg.
Well, I can't wait to hear from you and what's coming up in the fall season as well. We're going to have a lot of time to visit about that. But we got a lot of time to visit with a lot of great folks on the show that we've got lined up for you because we got Robert Ginsburg in the house. I like to call him the father of jazz in Northwest Arkansas. We're going to be talking about all things jazz. Then we got a great music video lined up from our folks right here at Fayetteville Public Television, part of their Fayette Tune series. We've got Roby Pantal on the show playing some music for us. It's going to be amazing. And down there at our chef's table, we are welcoming back the Queen of Cheese, the cheesemonger herself, Jessica Cahey, joining us. What do you got down there, Jess?
We are going to talk about cheese crystals.
Cheese crystals?
What are you... She's a hippie now.
This show is fancy.
We're going to charge up our cheddar crystals. We're going to align our chakras.
Our cheese crystals?
Cheese chakras.
Yeah, I totally got it. Yeah. I can't wait to see what you put in your mouth down there at the chef's table later in the show.
We will find, it might be a crystal.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Stick around. We got a lot of fun happening later. Welcome back, everybody. We've got Robert Ginsburg down here. Robert, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us.
Oh, it's always great.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all things jazz. And I know you, with the Northwest Arkansas Jazz Society, just had a really successful season. Can we kind of recap that? What were some highlights?
You bet. It's one of our big events. It's our Summer Jazz Concert Series, and this was our 25th season of Summer Jazz.
Wow.
And it was a real collaborative year. We had events at Turnbow Park, at Crystal Bridges. We also were at the Rail Yard in Rogers. Our most recent concert was at Walton Arts Center with an incredible internationally acclaimed group, multi-Grammy winners.
Wow.
And the Summer Jazz Concert Series sort of picks up where the Walton Arts Center lets off. Their season usually runs until April, and then we start our season
right after that.
keeping it alive during the summer.
Is that an expanse for you in terms of venues? Because you just mentioned some really staples here in Northwest Arkansas.
You know, the series started out exclusively at the University of Arkansas. It was in Stella Boyle Smith, and then we started reaching out, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
It's, you know, this next year we'll probably do something with the Momentary as well. So jazz is alive and well in our region.
Yeah.
It continues to grow.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I know that you have more upcoming events, specifically talk about the Starlight Jazz Series that does kick off again at Walton Arts Center. What do we need to know there, Robert?
Well, this is the 33rd year, excuse me, of the Walton Arts Center. I'm pretty sure their season in Starlight is a 200-seat venue, cabaret. It's the hippest.
Yeah, it's the hippest of the hip.
And, you know, internationally acclaimed artists. So this season starts September 30th with a great quintet, multi-Grammy winners, Tim Armacost's group. There's 6 concerts altogether, 2 great vocalists this year. Tierney Sutton will be there, and Loston Harris. So that season starts in September, and it runs through April.
Yeah, okay. Bo, I know that you often go to Walton Arts Center seeing events. Where are you on the jazz scale? How much have you seen?
What's funny is musicians make fantastic bartenders because they can do 2 things at once with their hands. And half my staff are actually musicians, and we all love jazz. And they play jazz around town, and it's one of those things, especially, I mean, if you work in the bar scene, bars and jazz and just nightlife, like they go hand in hand. So any chance I get to go see some live music, particularly jazz, you got to snatch it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. It's great that it's growing here in our region too, Robert. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit, because I know that you're kind of expanding, like we've talked about, out of Walton Arts Center as well. You've got some other venues to talk about that you're doing programming at.
Absolutely. Jazz can be heard all over Northwest Arkansas now. People that are interested in staying in touch with what's happening in jazz, there's a weekly email newsletter that the Jazz Society sends out every Wednesday, and it's all the jazz events in our region, reaching up to like Kansas City, Tulsa, and Little Rock.
Some of them are large venues that we know about, Walton Arts Center, Crystal Bridges, but then you're talking about 612 Coffee House, like a small, intimate venue where you can kind of like feel like you're even a part of the concert when these musicians play.
Well, the jazz culture is interesting because a really important part of that culture has been the jam session. And it's sort of the finishing school for musicians, especially now. That's where you study music, you learn how to read music, but the way you learn how to play is on the bandstand. So the Jazz Society does a monthly jam session as well, where we have professional musicians like Roby Pantal with a trio that open the show, and then kids, high school kids, professional musicians can sit in. And it's really important because it's not, I mean, it's not about playing notes, it's about playing music, and you learn how to do that on a bandstand.
That's an interesting distinction there. When I think about jazz, I always think of improvisational jazz, because like being an improvisational performer, I know that that means that I hit the stage without a definite script in front of me, and we're kind of like, we have a set series of rules that you follow,
right.
But you're able to kind of find your way, navigate through the scene in front of an audience.
You nailed it.
Is that similar for jazz?
You nailed it. I mean, you know, playing the familiar gives you a platform, but the most exciting things happen when you surprise yourself.
Yeah.
And that's improvising.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen unless you get up on stage with a group of musicians, with a group of professionals, like you're talking about, pros and young performers all coming together.
Exactly.
Which is another thing I wanted to hit on before we let you go, and that is your youth orchestra, right? You have kind of a youth jazz series.
It's this is the 8th year for the Northwest Arkansas Jazz All-Star Youth Ensemble, and this is where the Northwest Arkansas Jazz Society goes into like 12 different high schools in our region, and we recruit band students to be part of a big band. And what that involves is they audition. If they make the band, it's an 18-piece band. They study for 3 months repertoire, and then we bring in an internationally known jazz artist who works with them the final weekend. They do a concert at the Walton Arts Center, a professional recording. And the return on investment with this has been amazing. We have graduates of this program that have got scholarships to Berklee School of Music, University of North Texas. It really can be one of those epiphanies for students who don't know that much about jazz, and if they get the bug, well, there you go.
There you go. And you know, one of the things I really love about you is I think about you kind of starting, I know jazz existed in the region, but you have definitely helped to amplify the voice of jazz in our region. Just briefly, could you touch on how much you've seen jazz grow over the past 32, 33 years, whatever you just said it was?
It's waxed and waned, but
Sure.
in the last 10, 15 years, as we all know, this region is just blowing up. And it still is a small part of the music community. It's not like it used to be in the big band era.
Right.
But jazz has grown in popularity. The University of Arkansas has expanded their jazz studies. You can get a jazz major now.
Wow.
UArk Jazz Festival happens in April. There's a Latin ensemble. Jazz on KUAF, of course. Now they have an HD3 station that's all jazz that you can get. And Arkansas Center for Black Music has expanded that consciousness of this music as well. There's a new venues as well.
Yeah.
There's the Music Depot that Music Moves
Of
started.
course, Music Moves and Rogers, yeah, for
Right,
sure.
and they're transforming the old Victory Theater up there into a 450-seat state-of-the-art venue. So.
Yeah.
It's popping.
Yeah, absolutely is. And Bo, that kind of gives me a little bit of excitement about what we do here because Robert's saying he's seen it all, right? It's waxed, it's waned, he's been there since 1979. That gives us a little hope. I think also hope for your drive-in speaker box show as well, right? Just the longevity of these things.
Another person that has started a radio show and done it for almost 20 years here. It's really interesting. Like you said, things wax and wane. You find these eras where things are super popular and then they kind of disappear, but then they come back with a vengeance, and I feel like we're in one of those periods right now.
Yeah, and we're so thankful for you and your efforts as well. If people are interested in learning more, what's your website? How do they look you up?
Digjazz.com.
That's it, Dig Jazz.
And I do want to mention one other thing. The folks, Bernice and Brian Hembry,
yeah.
of Roots Festival fame, they're alive and well. They've opened up the folk school,
yeah.
in the old Walker Stone building, and that is a multi-genre venue. We've had some jam sessions in there. They're doing great things over there, and if you haven't checked that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jazz Society is alive and well, and we'd love for you to visit our website, Dig Jazz.
Dig Jazz is the place to be. You can find all of those concerts they mentioned, ways to get tickets, all of their social media as well. Just look them up on their website. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate your time. Stick around. We've got more fun happening later.
Our musical guest brought to you by Walton Arts Center. Walton Arts Center, presenting the West Street Live series.
Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree. And I feel like I'm clinging to a cloud. I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way, and 1,000 violins begin to play. Or it might be the sound of your hello, that music I hear. I get misty the moment you're near. You can say that you're leading me on, and it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly lost? That's why I'm following you. On my own, would I wander through this wonderland alone? Never knowing my right foot from my left, my hat from my glove. I'm too misty and too much in love. Don't you notice how hopelessly lost? That's why I'm following you. On my own, would I wander through this wonderland alone? Never knowing my right foot from my left, my hat from my glove. I'm too misty and too much in love. I'm too misty and too much in love.
Yes, everybody, welcome down here to the Chef's Table. We got Jessica Chahy joining us, cheesemonger of all things cheese, Sweet Freedom Cheese, joining us on the program. Thank you so much. We're talking about cheese crystals.
Cheese
I don't
crystals.
even know what that is.
And it looks like you brought like a geode here, or like a cheode.
It is a geode.
Yeah, you're like, what do you like, crack them and then harvest the cheesy
right.
crystal goodness?
That's exactly what we
or
do.
sell them in like southern souvenir shops? on
100%.
Saturday?
I
That's
like
right.
that you brought an entire printout about
That's
cheese
right.
crystals.
My
I'm
good
never
friend
going to get fancy.
Pat made this, and it talks all about nerdy cheese crystals. So if you want to know more, go
What
to
about cool cheese crystals?
cheesescience.org.
We're not nerds.
What did you say? Cheesescience.org?
Cheesescience.org to learn all about super fun cheese science facts.
That's a
but today
real
we're going
thing.
to talk about a couple of different
Okay.
kinds
Okay.
and how they're actually good for you, and you should totally eat them.
Great.
So the first one we're going to eat today is actually a cheddar. So sometimes you might go to your
This has got white stuff on it.
local supermarket and say things like that.
What's this white stuff?
It is perfectly edible. It is actually something called calcium lactate. So it is a mineral that comes to the surface of some cheeses when there's a little bit of moisture.
Okay.
And it is absolutely good for you. High, obviously, in calcium.
Is it
And
delicious?
It is delicious and a
absolutely
natural
delicious.
product.
I'm already eating it.
They actually call them flavor crystals. And
Flavor.
They don't have a ton of flavor to them, but they do indicate a well-aged, delicious cheese. So if you see that on the exterior, don't throw it away. It's not mold.
So is that like, because as I'm eating this piece of cheese, there's like a little texture difference in there.
That's
Are
right.
those the crystals?
So on the exterior, that's a crystal, but you've jumped the gun onto part two.
Oh, man.
wow.
You're ahead of
Sorry.
So we go
Talk about
from
nerds.
the exterior to the interior, and we have interior cheese crystals like leucine and tyrosine, which are actually found primarily in cheese, and you have to get them in your diet as an essential amino acid.
You
So
have to.
You have to. You need it desperately.
Okay.
And those you can
Sorry,
see
lactose intolerant people.
in this cheese geode.
no doubt.
See those little bits
Little
in there?
yeah.
Also not mold. So these are little tyrosine crystals that break down into tiny, 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 tiny
So is that
bits
this
of
one?
dopamine. Yes.
Whoa.
Dopamine.
Micro levels of dopamine. So they're actually physiological and psychological effects.
This one kind of smells like honey.
It does, doesn't it? So this is an aged Gouda. This is our oldest Gouda from Holland, and it starts to get these really lovely caramelized
gotta-
crystals.
You gotta,
got
it,
a-
it,
got a
it
crunch?
crunches a little bit, yeah.
That's it. So that's the tyrosine crystal.
It's like a Rice Krispie cheese thing.
Absolutely desirable. Yes.
Weird.
Right?
So that's what you
Isn't that
want,
awesome?
and that's good for you. That
It
dopamine is good for you.
Absolutely good for you.
The crunch bar of cheeses.
There are some studies that show that it improves mood. So, maybe as the fall goes on.
I mean, I'm already getting happier.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, have a little cheese.
What's up next?
So the third one, a little more
soft.
challenging.
Yeah.
I know. So,
that butter?
Limburger.
Oh, great. It's gonna
That's the
smell
one you
wonderful.
see on cartoons.
It's got a bad rap, y'all. It really does. I think
it-
the bark is maybe a little worse than the bite. That's the dude.
Limburger.
They do get a bad rap.
Limburger.
Usually when you see them on cartoons, I'm talking about, they have those like stink.
The lines, the green, like,
Yeah, it's so terrible,
Perfectly,
right?
right?
Tastes delicious.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is pretty great, and I love it with something a little sweet, like a peach or
It's
some
almost
honey.
like slightly pungent brie.
Yeah, it does have that texture. So don't be scared of the Limburger.
No, don't.
It makes an incredible fondue, too.
I was
for
about
the
to
fall.
say, how does it melt?
Yeah.
It melts like a dream. Excellent on burgers.
Okay, good to know.
All right, and then the last one that we have is
Burger.
blue cheese. So blue cheeses come in all shapes, sizes, flavors, strengths. They come soft, they come hard, they come strong, they come mild. This one is called Stilton, which is a super famous blue cheese.
You know how I feel about blue cheese.
So sometimes people don't love blues. And so I say, start out with a milder blue and maybe hit it with a little bit of honey, a little bit of jam, something sweet like chocolate.
Is that what's in this weird
This is
box?
honeycomb, which is absolutely 100% edible. And we have also a chocolate dipped orange, which you could chase it with if it's a little too much. But you're gonna find some cheese crystals in this as well. Struvite is a common one. We also see some of the other ones we've mentioned before. Again, doesn't appear in all blue cheese, but that crunch, again, perfectly normal, develops into some wonderful strong bones.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Calcium, magnesium,
okay with this.
phosphorus.
And you've got all these cheeses on offer at
feeling
Sweet
brave.
Freedom, is that right?
That's right, 100% and more. If cheese crystals aren't your thing, we have non-cheesy, non-crystalline cheese, but we do love when customers come and say, give us some of that crunch.
Be adventurous.
Absolutely. What's your website? Where can we find more?
SweetFreedomCheese.com.
Yes,
And
that's the place.
cheesescience.org?
That's right.
Cheesescience.org.
Absolutely.
For all your cheese science facts. Jess, thanks so much for bringing all this yummy to us, to the show today.
It's
we
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Yeah, stick around. We got more fun. It's all happening later. Yeah, that's our show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, you can find us out there on your social media platforms or send us an email at laterwithjasonsuel.com. And before we get out of here, we got to thank our amazing guests, including Robert Ginsburg.
And of course, Jessica from Sweet Freedom.
Yes, and how about that music video from Roby Pantal? We'll see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile.
Let's eat some cheese.